Hello guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today we'll be going through the Premier League predictions. Our first game is...
Brentford versus Tottenham.
That was weird.
Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. We are back for Boxing Day predictions. It's great to have the Premier League back. Big games coming. And let's start with Brentford versus Tottenham then. This is a massive game. Do you know what? It's so hard to predict these games after the World Cup break. It's almost like the season starting all over again.
Yeah, it's weird.
Do you know what? Brentford, not a bad side at home. I feel they're capable of beating these top sides. Tottenham, I think, will probably finish in the top four this season, but I don't think they're going to catch Arsenal this season, which obviously would be amazing for the Arsenal fans. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
Okay, I'm gonna back Spurs. I do think it's going to be a fairly tight game. I see goals from both teams. As you said, you can't really go off previous form because it is almost like starting afresh after a month off. So I'm going to back Spurs to win, but a tight game, 2-1.
2-1. Right, on to Selhurst Park, as there's another London derby, and it's Crystal Palace versus Fulham. I mean, Fulham, in that first half of the season, we were all really impressed with them.
Yeah.
I remember their last game, I think they lost 2-1 to Manchester United in the last minute, really frustrating that. Palace, though, very good at home. I think if this is at Craven Cottage, I'd maybe lean a bit more towards Fulham. I just think with Palace at home, they look a good team under Vieira. I think it might be a close game, but I'm saying Palace pinch it 2-1. Yeah,
I'm going to have to back a Palace win as well. But I'll say quite a low scoring game. So for me, they're going to win, but 1-0.
1-0. Right, on to Goodison as Everton take on Wolves. Wolves really struggling down there.
Not looking good.
Honestly. I mean, they did win in the Carabao Cup against Gillingham, if that's any consolation.
It's not.
But they really need points in the Premier League. And it's not impossible they could get something here at Everton. Do you know what? Let's just say it. Everton 1, Wolves 2. Boxing Day upset.
Oh, I was going to say an upset and it being a draw, because I think with Everton fans looking at the form Wolves are in, they should be thinking being at home, 3 points here. However, I think it's going to be a draw, so 1-1. 1-1. Right, on to the next one. I think this is quite an interesting matchup. Leicester City versus Newcastle United. Leicester City over the last few years have been that team from the outside joining the top six, and now it's kind of swapped over and it's Newcastle that are joining in with the big six, and I think Newcastle will pick up 3 points here. Very tricky away at Leicester, because Leicester have certainly improved in the sort of latter stages of that first half of the season, if that makes sense. I'm going to back Newcastle to edge it 2-1. See, I think this really depends on what Leicester side turns up, because there's some games where I think they look really good as a unit, and then there's other times where they just look completely disjointed. So it completely depends on which Leicester side is going to turn up on Boxing Day. Newcastle, I've been very, very impressed with them. I think they've invested well in their squad and it is paying off. So for me, they're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be too easy. So 2-1.
2-1. Ooh, okay. Right, down to the south coast as Southampton take on Brighton. Southampton are another team in that mess and they could do with some points. Good opportunity here at home. But Brighton are a good side. Brighton did, however, crash out of the Carabao Cup to Charlton on penalties, which I'm a bit surprised by. But it maybe means they can put all their eggs into the Premier League basket and go for a top 7 finish. I think they edged this. Saints 0, Brighton 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brighton are going to win this. They've got a World Cup player in their squad as well now.
So good play, McAllister.
Got to mention that. For me, not been very impressed with Southampton, so 1-0 Brighton.
Oh, 1-0 Brighton. Yep, same as me. Right, on to Villa Park as Aston Villa take on Liverpool. Remember a couple of seasons ago when Villa beat Liverpool 7-2 at this ground?
That was so painful.
I don't know. I mean, Liverpool, to be honest, this season wouldn't surprise me with the way they're going. They're really inconsistent, aren't they? Maybe the World Cup break could have been a good thing for Liverpool. Maybe they come back and they're more consistent and they strive towards a top 4 finish, which is still very possible. Aston Villa aren't a bad side. Under Unai Emery, I think they could look quite good, but tricky game. I'm going to say Liverpool edge it. Villa 1, Liverpool 2.
See, I think a lot of people would look at this and say Liverpool are going to win, even though they're away from home. However, I'm going to say there's going to be a bit of an upset. 2-1 Villa.
2-1 Villa?
Yeah, it's going to pain me, but see it playing out.
That would be some result for Aston Villa, wouldn't it? Right, on to the next one. Another London derby. Arsenal versus West Ham. Do you know what, Arsenal, they did so well in that first half of the season. Can they repeat it?
They're without Jesus now.
They are, actually. That's a big miss. Well mentioned.
It's a big miss.
But you still think that squad, even though without Jesus it's such a big miss, it's good enough to win most Premier League games. And West Ham aren't a bad side, but I think Arsenal have just got a bit more about them, especially at home. So maybe a tight game. Arsenal 1-0.
Yeah, I think Jesus is going to be a big miss. However, as you said, they have got that depth there. They are a good team kind of all over the pitch. Saying that, I don't think West Ham are pushovers at all. I think they can be a pretty good, solid unit at times. But I am going to have to back the Gunners to win this. So 2-0.
Oh, 2-0.
Yeah.
Right, on to Stamford Bridge as Chelsea take on AFC Bournemouth. Chelsea, can they finish in the top 4 this season? I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle. As for Bournemouth, they're desperate to pick up points as well because they're trying to survive. So, really big game this. Neither team's in the middle. I think both sides need points for different reasons. And can I see Bournemouth doing it? I don't think so. I'm not going to keep going for shock results. I think Bournemouth might get on the score sheet, but I'm going to go Chelsea to win 3-1.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to predict a bit of an upset here, and I'm going to say Bournemouth pick up the 3 points.
What?
Yeah, 2-1 to the Cherries.
Really? For God's sake. On to the next one as Manchester United take on Nottingham Forest. This is an interesting matchup. Both sides have actually played since the World Cup. They were both in Carabao Cup action and they both got through to the quarterfinals. Forest very impressive at Blackburn. Their fans, they took more fans than Blackburn had fans.
Yeah, that was poor from Blackburn though, but fair play to the Forest fans.
Yeah, that's true. Manchester United got past Burnley. I don't know. Forest needs something. To be fair, Forest were picking up a few points at the end of that World Cup break. I remember their last game was a win against Crystal Palace. Manchester United, obviously, very good side. Talent all over the place. No Ronaldo now, obviously.
That's going to benefit them, I think.
Yeah, probably. Man United 1, Forest 2.
Oh, where did that come from? Alright, I'm going to back a United win. I think you're going to have to back the favourites there. Rashford is in insane form, so as long as he's playing, I can see them winning. I mentioned briefly about without Ronaldo being there, they might actually play better. That's not really saying he's not a good player. It's just, obviously, if he's had a fallout with the manager, there's going to be some unrest in the dressing room.
Good point.
So without him there, I think they're going to kick on a little bit. That's not taking anything away from Forest. I think before the World Cup break, maybe that came at the wrong time for them as they were starting to look quite good. But different kettle of fish against United. So for me, 3-1. Do think they'll score, but 3-1.
There you go. Right, the final game is at Ellen Road and it's Leeds United versus Manchester City. Now, Arsenal fans will be praying that Leeds do them a favour here because Arsenal obviously got a good gap and Manchester City need to close it. Manchester City, I think, are really going to romp it home in the second half of the season when there's loads of games flying at them. But maybe coming back from the World Cup break, could they be a little bit rusty? I don't know. How many of their players?
Not Haaland, he's been resting for them.
Yeah, that's true.
4 weeks.
But maybe he could be rusty if he's not been in action. As for Leeds United, obviously battling to stay up. And I think they can make this a tricky game, especially at Ellen Road. Good fans. Leeds 2, Man City 2.
Oh, okay. You think it's going to be drawn? Honestly, I just never know with Leeds. I don't think I've ever gotten any of their scores right. They're just so hard to predict. However, Man City, fairly easy to predict. Just predict them to win. When you've got Haaland in the team, but also another forward, Alvarez. He had a very good World Cup. He went kind of under the radar going in, and now it's like, okay, they've got 2 very, very good forwards in their side. I'm going to have to back Man City to win, but I see Leeds scoring as well, so 3-1.
3-1. Okay, that wraps up our Premier League predictions, guys. Do make sure to drop a like. Do subscribe as well, as we're trying to push now towards 24,000 subscribers. So hit that red button down below and have yourselves a Merry, Merry Christmas. Peace out.